Everywhere that they about to move, I go. Got me on my mind, I'm about to lose control. Working overtime, I gotta shoot, reload. Yeah, I see you acting out, I'm wondering what all the baggage is. That can get a hole up in your chest, don't know the half of it. Y'all can get a shit, then I ain't talking about the packaging. About to catch a body, that red carpet's what I drag it in.
Take all your clothes off and fold yourself 12 times.
This is exactly what I say when I open a fresh package of origami paper. No, I'm not sexualizing the art form, but there is something about those creases.
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy sexual joke that isn't funny cliche.
Also, leaving your underwear on when you're clearly told to remove all clothing. Dude literally tries to fold himself 12 times but gets caught up on the never nude clause.
Discount Jeremy wants to see some Jerry dick.
I admire you, Rick.
Weird time to be feeling admiration for one's intellect while staring into your coffee mug's brown eye.
Was this sin meant as a joke? Cause it wasn't real criticism or satire. I mean, to be fair, it also wasn't funny, so I guess it just shouldn't exist.
So, Fart Mug is adorned with the Shoney's label and not one that reads Spencer Gifts.
Everything wrong with the Rick Shank redemption, ladies and gentlemen. The coffee mugs in Shoney's have a Shoney's label.
Imagine deciding between Master Sword Morty and Spiked Bat Morty when Throwing Star Morty's right freaking there.
And why is that a sin? He basically just said, I like throwing stars, therefore the episode made a mistake. Is this really what you TVSins fanboys find entertaining? Come on.
Spilling your breakfast pills and leaving them on the table, especially the orange pink one. Those things are like the bacon of the morning capsule meal industry.
Unfunny joke is unfunny.
Stop saying his name. He abandoned us.
I know I'm not supposed to cry over spilled milk, but that Merlot didn't even have a chance to be sipped slowly after a snarky one-liner.
What the hell? The episode is making a mistake because it didn't include a scene where a character sips Merlot after a one-liner? Do you guys actually expect people to find this shit funny? I am so confused.
Willem Dafoe! That's the guy I couldn't think of this morning.
Not being able to remember Finding Nemo's Willem Dafoe.
Not being able to refrain from pointing things out on the screen.
Let's go visit some memories.
Oh, any particular ones? You want to see my first boner, or should we go straight to the moment I discovered interdimensional travel?
Let's go for the second choice. My first boner was at the front of my 7th grade math class after solving a difficult problem. Pretty sure by the time I was done, everyone had solved for D.
Unfunny joke is unfunny. Also, Discount Jeremy says boner.
Yeah, well, tough titties.
There's no tougher titty than a psychotic break, Rick.
I once watched a lady crush a 6-pack of beer, a watermelon, and a brick with her tit on an episode of America's Got Talent, so I'm inclined to disbelieve this fact.
Between where you were on 9/11 and your favorite sports blooper?
Rick is one of the most intelligent creatures in the history of creatures, and his favorite sports blooper isn't Jose Canseco headbutting a ball into the stands for a home run. Please.
Hey guys, if he's just gonna waste our time with a series of consecutive dumb jokes that aren't funny, can I just not do this video? Huh? What do you mean I don't have a choice? Oh, fine. Unfunny jokes are both unfunny. Happy now?
Look at these dead flies. Maybe if we arrange them in a certain order, it plays a hologram, or it opens a secret door.
Summer's over here tampering with evidence. In a world where the alien insect-based galactic empire rules with an iron fist, you'd think this might be a murder scene.
What the hell? Is he really setting the show for Summer not randomly assuming a bunch of bugs on a counter constitutes a murder scene? That makes no sense on just about every level imaginable.
A bunch of the Szechuan sauce? Like, as much as you're allowed to give me.
In the history of life-imitating art that imitates life, there's never been a bigger flustercluck than the Rick and Morty Szechuan sauce wars. Here's 15 sins for nostalgia-based hysteria. And 1 sin back, because honestly, it's a pretty good sauce.
He added 15 sins at first, so I feel like this is justified. Discount Jeremy sins something he likes cliche.
But also, the dude can invent multi-dimensional time portals, but can't recreate a sauce.
That's the joke.
Bug boners. Bugners?
Discount Jeremy says boner.
Why did they bury this world's Rick with a portal gun? In fact, why did they bury this world's Rick at all? Other Rick could have just easily thrown the corpse into a portal or incinerated or anything that wouldn't require the manual labor of digging a hole.
Because manually burying the corpses gives the showrunners ample opportunities for more jokes, and seeing as this is a comedy...
That's my sister. This used to be my home.
Right, because weird stuff that happens in Rick and Morty is brought back and referenced by the show, when it's convenient.
Aaron, this is a cartoon about a mad scientist who cripples a galactic government in a single day by breaking out of prison, but you're complaining about the plot lines miraculously resurfacing? Give me a break, dude.
That's the 3 lines of math that separates my life as a man from my life as an unfeeling ghost.
Rejoice, Rick. Could be worse.
Skip.
Possum.
Wait, how does this bug know what a possum is? Did he study that much about Earth's animal kingdom to know how to make that clever animal rhyme?
Or maybe there are possums on his home planet too? Or any other number of perfectly reasonable explanations? The point is, this is not a sin.
But also, I'm still mad that he never got to do Uncharted. And this show reminded me of that emotion in a roundabout way, so...
Sinning something that has nothing to do with the episode at hand? That's the annoying TVSins way.
This is the way.
Bummed I didn't get to give that insect a test drive.
Wait, you said you had to take a level 9 dump. Does that mean this insect species poos out of their... Some things are better off unimagined.
TVSins making a poop joke when they constantly sin shows for making poop jokes? No, they would never do that, right?
D99, this is the commander-in-chief of the Citadel's militia. Good enough. He's a spy, blow him up. I'm gonna go take a shit.
Rick may have invented the best conversation segue ever, but I do have to wonder, do all the Ricks neglect bowel movements? I can only imagine having the urge to poop over and over again has to be a curse. Now, the release of said waste, I could do with that feeling over and over again. Plus, I'd be able to catch up on all my Philip DeFranco show in one day with that much time spent on the toilet.
TVSins making a second poop joke when they constantly sin shows for making poop jokes? No, they would never do that, right? Why am I getting a sense of deja vu?
Killed him because you were jealous of him. That's pretty obvious from the haircut.
Judging someone by their haircut. Unless, of course, we're talking about Billy Ray Cyrus circa 1990s or Las Vegas Raiders owner Mark Davis. Then it's totally fair.
Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
I was just trying to protect my sister. I wanted you to have a normal life.
Rick and Morty tries to have emotional stakes in a show where everyone's disposable and no one's redeemable cliche.
For the 100 millionth time, that's not a cliche.
Okay, I'm all about ease of access to go to the bathroom when in an armored outfit, but not protecting your buggy bowl bag?
Skip.
Who controls the pants, controls the galaxy.
American idioms have a very weird influence on alien culture. My dad used to say he wore the pants in the household, but rarely did I see him with pants on. He was a tighty-whities and a tank top kind of guy.
Unfunny joke is unfunny. Yet again.
Remember when phones only had one camera and it didn't feel like you were carrying around the Hubble telescope array? Yeah, good times.
Discount Jeremy sins something he likes cliche.
Nancy says they're drawing and quartering aliens in the school courtyard, and it technically counts as patriotism.
Americans co-signing the brutal death and torture of a culture or species? You don't say.
This is one of those classic sins where Discount Jeremy just repeats a joke that the show made itself in a slightly different way to try to appear funny to his audience. But it's not funny, it's just repetitive and annoying.
Dick so small, make 2 inches look big as fuck. Ouch. It ain't cold, but my shit looks so shriveled up. Yup.
Next time we're hiding in a Calorkian echo nest, can you do me a favor and turn your ringer off?
Despite what the subtitles say, it's still not entirely clear what's being dealt with here. Was it a Calorkian echo that had a nest, or was it a Calorkian that had an echo nest? How am I supposed to update the fan wiki now, Dan?
That's because losers look stuff up.
Darn right, pink shirt girl in this episode of this television show. Darn right.
2 unfunny jokes being unfunny right in a row? That's the TVSins recipe.
To live is to risk it all. Otherwise, you're just an inert chunk of randomly assembled molecules drifting wherever the universe blows you.
Show makes us question whether or not this statement was actually profound or just a setup to burn Jerry.
Discount Jeremy points things out on the screen cliche.
Cool, just stay in the driveway. The killbots are live and I took you off the white list.
Good thing you just randomly stopped right before walking into the garage then. Or bad thing. Yeah, let's go with bad thing.
Discount Jeremy tries to apply logic to a cartoon ex machina.
Back in the very first episode of Rick and Morty TVSins, we made a joke about this towing company and finished by sinning that toes don't bend like that. We were then inundated in the comments with people saying that their toes do in fact bend like that. And I say, bullshit. I'm giving 10 sins to you toe scam liars. Seriously, if you can extend your big toe and still fully flex all 4 of your other toes to where the pads of the toe are touching the bottom of your foot, I'll give 20 sins back in the next Rick and Morty episode we send and name drop you for it. Just send the proof to pixaritdidn'thappen at cinemasins.com for verification, and absolutely not because I want to look at pictures of strangers' feet as far as you know.
Was that supposed to be a joke? 'Cause I'm not laughing.
Half-open boxes in the mattress leaning up against the side secured only by this tall and unstable lamp. The sin is Jerry loading his truck like a Jerry.
So the show made a mistake by having a character stay in character? Are you aware of why that's dumb, or are you just dumb?
Can someone help me understand if butts are faces and faces are butts in this world? Then what part of the butt is butt-faced Morty watching the face-butt porn with? And what orifice on the face-butt do butt faces use to... You know what? I just decided I don't want to know any of this. Dang it. quickly, please.
See, when TVSins fanboys pop up in my comments telling me that I take them too seriously, I'd like to point them to this sin. It was clearly meant to be funny, but it was really just boring and annoying, so why am I a piece of shit for criticizing that? The Sins writers are capable of writing funny jokes. They've done it before, which is why I constantly sin their bad jokes.
The exploding war boy on the back of their vehicle has little to no impact on them or the car, proving that even a show with an established plot device for replacing main characters can also be shameless in its use of plot armor.
Discount Jeremy tries to apply logic to a cartoon ex machina.
Stuff's so powerful, Morty. It makes Isotope 465 look like Isotope 317.
This technobabble is so Star Trek TNG it makes Doctor Who look like sliders.
Discount Jeremy makes 3 pop culture references that aren't sins of the episode cliche.
Your blood will be my lotion.
Blood would be a terrible lotion.
Skip.
Really easier to eat human flesh than to just tell me why we're still here? No.
That fake ass laugh.
You mean the blood dome?
Save it for the semantics dome, E.B. White. Ooh, burn.
I'm this close to giving another sin off for yet another hilarious bit, but then I realized that calling the Blood Dome the Thunder Dome isn't just a semantic difference. Blood is very different than thunder, although I do hide under the covers the moment I experience either of them.
That fake ass laugh. Also, Discount Jeremy sins something he likes cliche. Also, passing up the opportunity to remove 2 sins in a row for a lame-ass joke that nobody is going to laugh at.
This device extracts and redistributes muscle memory.
This MacGuffin is fired so ungracefully up the ass of this episode, I have to give it 2 sins, even though its penetration in the end will be quite enjoyable.
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy sexual joke that isn't funny cliche. Also, Discount Jeremy sins something he likes cliche.
Letting this bicep meat rot in the heat.
Pointing things out on the screen.
Some chose to huddle near the boomy holes.
Calling it your boomy hole, and letting someone huddle near it.
Do you honestly think you're fucking funny?
Good thing the lady in the water arm chose this moment to stop destroying everything in its vicinity the second Summer showed up, huh?
Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
This neck keeps pulsing more blood out of it, and honestly, sometimes I think the show forgets that disgusting things can be distracting things, and if they're not careful, I might not be paying close enough attention to catch the next fart joke.
Discount Jeremy has the attention span of a toddler with ADHD cliche.
Oh, we'll be right back.
Aside from the usual nonsense fourth wall breaking, this should also be sin for how it allows the show to fast forward through how Rick got out of this situation, why Summer sided with the Deathstalkers, and if Morty's monster arm got in some quick delt work before it suddenly decided to drive him out here.
How does he not understand that that is literally the point? I mean, he's watching a show that has a bunch of satirical jokes but can't even realize when one is made. Don't the TVSins people always claim to be a satirical channel? So why can't they recognize actual satire when it's right in front of them?
Chopping wood one-handed. Wait, chopping wood left-handed.
Pointing things out on the screen annoyingly. Wait, pointing things out on the screen still annoyingly.
Now I'm gonna whip you.
Narrating your whipping is only acceptable if a problem comes along and you whip it good.
To be fair, if he didn't say that, you would probably be asking what he's gonna do next, seeing as you need your hand held when you're watching shit.
What about the weird guys on leashes then?
They're more like interns.
This asshole claims to have little memory of the before 4 times, so this means that internships as a concept have survived the apocalypse. Actually, it makes perfect sense that something as soulless and evil would survive the end of the world. But still, f*** internships.
Admits that it's a funny concept for internships to have survived an apocalypse, still sins it, still full of shit.
A metal bucket is, on a certain level, a kind of mustache, in that it's a specific facial accessory.
A mustache is not just a facial accessory. It's a growing and ever-changing part of you that requires care and nurturing, so it can one day become a full and prominent statement of your desire to never drink milk in public ever again.
Unfunny joke is unfunny.
The thing I find most disconcerting about this whole scene is how all of them just sit there conversing with an entire meatball on their fork. I have so many questions like, aren't you worried about the sauce dripping all over the place as you gesture? Are you planning on eating the entire meatball in one bite? Are you not including any spaghetti with the meatball? They are meant to be eaten together, you savages. And that's before we even get to your serving sizes. That plate of spaghetti is as big as your head. That's probably 3,000 calories worth of spaghetti there. And I'm not
Pull it back, Summer, by 15% and increase dynamic movement by 3.
No matter how many times this show tries to explain away Beth being oblivious to all things Rick because of the issues with their relationship, she has also been established to be a very smart person. It only takes a moderately smart person, like myself, to see through this robotic family ruse.
Discount Jeremy tries to apply logic to a cartoon ex machina.
Armathy, can I steal you for a second?
Armathy? Armathy? What about Arm and Fight? Or Sleeve Jobs? I mean, Hand Squish'em Anderson was right there.
Yeah, it was, which is why I'm so glad Morty chose the much better name Armathy.
They did all this in 3 weeks. I mean, my neighbor started putting up a fence in his backyard 3 months ago, and he's still not done. Part of the sin is probably on my lazy neighbor. F Bruce. But this is still a lot of infrastructure for 21 days.
That's the joke.
We were monsters. We didn't care about anything.
I still don't.
Yeah, except I'm the only one in this entire world that's still committed to that.
Oh, ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. 3 sins? Oh, I get it. You want me to send the marriage kills romance and results in conflict cliche. Fair enough. Here's your ding, ding, ding.
Except that's not a cliche, so you really shouldn't do that.
Rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
I'm Pickle Rick!
Roll deal commercials.
I turned myself into a pickle, Morty!
With the garage door open? I mean, it's possible Rick couldn't care less if people know he's a mad scientist, but I usually like a little privacy when I'm transforming my pickle.
First, you just answered yourself in that sin, so it really isn't a real sin. Second, I have a sneaking suspicion that the only reason this sin exists is so you could make a cringy dick joke.
So it's official. Rick and Morty needs to do a whole episode including all the stuff they didn't do from the intros and turn it into one episode. They're good at off-the-wall concepts, so time to make it happen, assholes.
You know what? I fully agree with that. One sin removed.
Did you do this on purpose to get out of family counseling?
He did, and it really makes me wonder why he didn't do something a lot less convoluted. Seems like he could have simply faked being sick, or made himself sick for real, and had an antidote hidden somewhere. Or thousands of other things he could have done to get out of therapy.
But you're completely missing the point of Rick's character. He's mentally unstable, meaning that he would do things like this, even when there are other options.
Beth conveniently leaves the garage door open so that Pickle Rick can get into his adventure.
My brothers leave the garage door open every time they leave the house, so this is totally plausible.
I'm pretty sure it only rains long enough for Rick to get to the next phase of the story, making this the biggest Deus Ex Machina rain since Noah, when God killed all of Noah's arch nemesis.
It's a cartoon, Jeremy. Stop thinking about it. Also, Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
Pickle Rick is apparently holding his breath underwater, so can we talk anatomical morphing? Does this mean this pickle has respiratory, circulatory, and neurological systems? And if so, isn't it more of a pickle-shaped human than an actual human turned into a pickle?
Yet again, Jeremy fails to understand that you're supposed to turn off your brain while watching cartoons.
It's nobody's choice to be here, you knobs. The family was told to get counseling by your principal.
Sounds like the principal was a co-writer on this script, considering the unusual request for the entire family to get counseling.
Have you even ever seen their principal? With how his character is portrayed, telling them to get counseling isn't weird at all.
Even though it's not the family that was huffing pottery glaze in the art room.
As far as my research shows, pottery glaze does not contain any brain-altering substances. Oh, you sweet summer child.
Jeremy makes a Game of Thrones reference that is a sin of the episode cliche.
This rat trap includes a weight, wall screws, and bolts, and a tied-off rubber band secured at twice a pickle's height. How the hell could Rick build this at his current pickle size, and with a distinct lack of opposable thumbs?
Because he's Pickle Rick, motherfucker.
Rick builds complex machinery quickly with no hands or tools. It's going to be a common thing, isn't it? Fine, let's add 5 sins for this plot-forwarding nonsense and move on.
What does Jeremy not understand about cartoons? They're not supposed to make sense.
I know this is one of those things where you're not supposed to think very deeply into it and just accept that Rick, who is a pickle, screwed rat arms and legs onto himself and now has the agility of Tony Jaa as he rampages through this rat horde. But if rat anatomy is this amazing, I find it hard to believe they wouldn't rule the world, or at the very least have complete control of the New York City subways.
Are you seriously saying that they don't have control of the New York City subways? Seriously, Jeremy? Have you ever even been to one?
Also, don't get me wrong, going all John Rick Chapter 3 Picklebellum on these rats is pure amazingness. But unless he's broken the law of conservation of mass, him making this machine appear complete with seemingly unlimited ammo out of absolutely nothing can suck my gherkin.
Don't question Pickle Rick. Also, didn't Iron Man have tech like way more advanced than this in Infinity War? But you were okay with that.
Who in the toilet is this?
How the did Rick get this deep into the middle of nowhere from that sewer he was in?
Because he's Pickle fucking Rick, you fucking sacrilegious piece of shit.
Hey, can you, please let me out?
Can't Rick just find a way out on his own? He's been using the vents to get around, and he has more resources than when he was down in the sewers, and down there he could build a jetpack and a whole complicated rat part assembly machine.
Yeah, but he'd rather just have them let him out, cause it would be so much easier.
How is Rick flying this chopper without being able to reach the anti-torque pedal and other important helicoptery things?
Because he's Pickle Rick, and Pickle Rick can do anything.
The same way I'm bored when I brush my teeth and wipe my ass.
Who has ever been wiping their ass and said to themselves, God damn, this is boring. It's not like it's supposed to be fun.
Well, no, it's not supposed to be fun, but that doesn't mean it's not boring. It still is.
Jaguar!
Is Jaguar, gonna untie Rick and Morty?
No, 'cause he just flew away. Watch the damn episode and your questions will be answered.
They whole team get ran through. Ain't one thing I can't do. Snakes and grass, no bamboo. Move on quick, I plan to. On the fence, won't stand you. Cloud my eyes, no land you. Don't take L's, they hand you. Plan ain't go, no time for plans. They whole team get ran through. Ain't one thing I can't do. Snakes and grass, no bamboo. Move on quick, I plan to. On the fence, won't stand you. Cloud my eyes, no land you. Don't take L's, they hand you. Plan ain't go, no time for plan to.
Don't let any of those things get away, Morty.
And be sure to keep the garage door open while these things scurry about. That seems to propel a lot of our plots.
One sin into this episode and we're already pretending that this satirical cartoon should be taken at face value. This is going to be a long one, isn't it?
Also, is this a garden hose hanging on the side of the Smith house? That thing is huge. That is the girthiest yard hose ever to hose a yard. Can we call it Dirt Diggler?
Everything wrong with Rick and Morty, ladies and gentlemen. The Smith family has a big hose.
I, Morty Smith, invoke my right to choose 1 in every 10 Rick and Morty adventures.
So it's true, Rick and Morty have adventures that are not televised, so it's possible we haven't seen other adventures chosen by Morty. But the episode Me Seeks and Destroy seemingly established that Morty would choose at least one adventure in every 10-episode season. When Morty angled to be in charge of every third adventure, and Rick casually rebutted him off with every 10th. This self-aware show was surely referring to the number of episodes in a season. I think they just forgot this was a thing until now.
Or maybe, and hear me out because I'm about to explain the meaning of life and the universe, maybe all of the completely random assumptions you just pulled out of your ass are not true?
This time travel box hasn't paid off, and I'm calling it. It's been long enough. I want some time travel shenanigans, damn it. This container has been teasing me since episode 1, and my flux is at full capacitor.
Do you honestly not realize that what you just complained about is literally the point? The reason the time travel box is here is to mock the sci-fi time travel trope. What you're saying in this sin is that this episode is making a mistake for having a meta joke.
They did a whole Vindicators without us. Bunch of them got killed too.
So Morty is an unabashed Vindicators fan, and while it makes sense that they would do an adventure without Rick and Morty, it seems like he would have figured that out already, since he's such a huge fan of them and all. Wouldn't he have various news feeds set up to follow whatever the Vindicators were doing, even when they weren't assembled?
It's entirely possible that the Vindicators did their previous mission without it ending up on the news, as this scene right here is implying.
Yikes. Yeah, things did feel less diverse in there.
Sure, there's a white guy, but there's also a woman who is apparently a solar system, a person made of ants, a robot crocodile, and a ghost train conductor of color. What the hell is Rick even talking about?
He's talking about the lack of diversity? Notice how he said less diverse, implying that there was still diversity in the group, but simply less than there was before. He never said that it wasn't diverse at all.
I'll buy that Supernova and Vance can fly down from the jet. And I guess maybe Million Ants can somehow float down with Morty in tow, but how do Alan Rails and Crocubot even come close to surviving the impact of that height?
He's asking how a person with superpowers and an alligator with cybernetic enhancements could survive a relatively short fall. What's your IQ? You know, for research purposes?
Are you alright?
Yes. I only lost 400 ants.
Million Ants is made up of a million ants. This many bullet holes would have caused the slaughter of well into the tens of thousands.
And your evidence? Can you show us your work? Because you're just making this claim without providing any actual proof, so we have no reason to believe that what you're saying is true, especially when we take your somewhat less than impressive track record into account.
My queen is laying more. I am back to 1 million ants.
Literal Ant-Man could have had any kind of biology and it would make sense, I suppose. I mean, this guy's made up of ants. But don't ants have to go through the larvae and pupae stages before developing into full-blown ants? This whole process lasts a month at least. So even if your queen could somehow spit them out that fast, your chronology needs some work.
Or maybe, just maybe, this sci-fi cartoon with a character who is literally made out of ants is suggesting that the ants aren't the same species as the ones we have in our real world, and therefore don't have all the same properties.
Geez, Supernova. I mean, there's unrealistic body image, and then there is a toilet paper roll balancing 2 cantaloupes while sitting on top of the Great Pumpkin. Is your superpower transmitting body dysmorphia?
Everything wrong with Vindicators 3, ladies and gentlemen. Jeremy has a boner for Supernova.
We're taking fire from an automated turret. Can you bring it offline?
Seems like they wouldn't need Rick to do this, since many of the superheroes have powers that could easily destroy the turret on their own. But this episode is a parody of superhero movies, so maybe that's the point. I'm sending it anyway, because I won't feel right in the morning if I don't.
Admits that this episode is a parody, sends it anyway. That's what we call stupidity, boys and girls.
Do it in 3 minutes or you'll die.
So at what point does Rick transition from hilarious, nihilistic asshole to legitimate supervillain? Has he always been the villain of the show? Look, that's fine if that's the case. I'm just saying at some point we need some sort of moral foundation here, right?
So the sin is that Rick isn't a good person? What? Why is that a mistake of the episode? Are you expecting all the characters to be perfect people? How much stupidity is too much stupidity?
This is triggering me. I need space.
Does anyone even want to just glance at the board and maybe just do the easy matching game? I'm as stubborn and prideful as the next guy, but if my life's on the line, I'm at least going to check out the difficulty level before I get all flustered.
Didn't you mention how this episode is a parody of superhero movies earlier? How are you failing to understand the jokes if you know that? The episode is showing us that the Vindicators feel invincible because of their pride and arrogance, which is their downfall. It's hilarious how he claims that this channel is satirical, and yet he doesn't understand real satire when he's watching it.
Look, I know the drunk Rick set all this up, and all of this is surprising to him too. But sober Rick doesn't care one bit about these assholes. So why is he all horrified about Vance? The Rick we know and love would be stoic about this and be ready with a sarcastic quip.
You are correct that he doesn't care about Vance's death. It's more the manner of the death. I mean, the dude literally got sliced and diced. It was pretty brutal.
Give me one reason why I shouldn't crush your windpipe.
Because my epidermis is laced with a nanofiber defense mesh.
Okay, that's awesome. But when he grabbed your neck, your eyeball went to bloodshot, which means your defense mesh wasn't working when he first grabbed you. It appears to only exist for this joke.
Right, because this is a comedy, and it's not supposed to follow real-world logic, meaning that this is not a sin.
But they don't pick the location you'll never hear them even mention.
Oh, I know this.
Dude, this game doesn't even have a timer. Why the rush?
Pride, arrogance, satirical parody.
Even drunk, Pickled Rick is a super genius, but he's just one super genius, right? How does one person build this entire fully automated giant instructional screen and an interactive holographic display in one drunken night?
Jeremy, you're watching a cartoon about a mad scientist who created a gun that can portal between dimensions. If he can do shit like that, then he can do shit like this.
Drunk version of me is probably so supportive of Israel. He wants what's best for it, and...
Hey man, I'm not touching this.
That's a funny reply, but does Million Ants know the geopolitical complexity of issues concerning Israel to the point that he knows it's a touchy subject?
Yes, because he just said something that proves he does? Why did you ask a question that was answered literally seconds ago? Also, Jeremy sends something he likes cliche.
Say, you have to hit 5 3-pointers in 5 minutes, or I don't know. The whole planet will get blown up with a neutrino bomb.
Rick clearly recorded his audio first, making it up as he went, and then had to enact his ramblings into the real world, which is kind of brilliant, considering that's basically how this show seems to be created. So this is either a sin for Rick standing in as the proxy for the writer's laziness, or a sin for being brilliant enough to get away with it. Either way.
Can you explain how the writers are being lazy with this formula? How is it lazy to record audio first and then make everything else up? You can't just say words and expect them to be true without any logic behind it. Also, the two options he gave at the end there are both not sins, so another one feels appropriate.
Another one.
Oh, disarm the drunkenly improvised neutrino bomb.
Morty, how many of these?
Too many, Rick! Too many!
Okay, so he's disarmed a few of these bombs, but why the hell is he all of a sudden going full Hurt Locker when we all know non-drunk Rick is the one that will eventually take care of this?
Because he doesn't know that Rick will take care of it? Do you think that the characters within the show are supposed to know what the audience knows? There's this thing called dramatic irony, and as a so-called movie and TV critic, you should really know what that is. Also, Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
Is there something set up on this basketball court that detects the distance from which these guys shoot the basket? Because it seems like they could just shoot layups and everything rigged up here wouldn't know the difference. I mean, if it allows Supernova to cheat the 3-pointers like this, then there's nothing stopping them from taking the easiest shot possible.
And why is that a sin? The episode makes it clear to us that Rick kinda just stopped putting effort into it when he got to this particular trap, so it actually makes sense that he wouldn't have bothered to do anything about that.
Morty gets on the platform and it works, but we find out that drunk Rick was thinking of Noob Noob as the answer to this question. And while this game might just be total bullshit, and that's exactly the point of it all, this whole thing is so detailed you'd think if drunk Rick was really thinking about Noob Noob, he'd have made sure the platform required Noob Noob.
It's entirely possible that either A, your explanation about it not mattering is the case and therefore it's not a sin, or B, the platform is based on the weight of the person who steps onto it, and therefore it's not a sin. Either way, it's not a sin.
Every single puzzle Rick set up was accompanied by a video, and every single one of these recordings took place in his garage. And while he may not have had every game planned, he clearly had the last game planned because he had already cut out the rainbow background for the last video message. But that last one was recorded somewhere in the cave they're currently in, so why did he wait to do this one here when he did all the other videos in his garage?
I don't know. Maybe he was just really drunk and acting insane because of it. Have you never been drunk? 'Cause drunk people love doing stupid and unnecessary shit.
You were always the romantic, which is why you can't leave either.
So Supernova is a full-blown psychopath now? Just like that. Was there any sign of this over her years of service? This is a sin for the Vindicator's HR department, if nothing else.
So you're complaining about not seeing a history of instability in a character we just met at the beginning of this episode? Do you hear yourself when you talk?
I'm going to enjoy this.
And let's give a huge thanks to Rick Sanchez for...
Wouldn't all the people up here have seen Supernova doing all the evil she did, including killing million ants while they took the ride on the elevator? You mean nobody was looking down during that whole thing? And what about the superheroes? Nobody looked up and saw tons of people up there having a party?
How many people do you honestly think would walk up to the edge of a big crater and look down just to be able to see an elevator coming up towards them? What the fuck? Also, none of the people on the elevator saw the people up top because they can't see through the ground. As long as the people aren't floating above the pit, they wouldn't have any kind of visual angle.
And for booking one of the hottest talents out there, Logic!
I mean, there's logic problems, and then there's logic problems. Apparently this episode has both.
And you have a whole lot of unfunny jokes and stupid mistakes in every single one of your videos, but I'm still struggling to understand your point.
With great power comes the absolute certainty that you'll turn into a right cunt.
Oh no, this sucks. It's so boring. I mean, I'm falling asleep here. Let's just get out and crawl down the sides.
You can never catch me. I'm a television like Espy. When they taking shots from the vested, blaze to the neck, then I'ma just snipe like Wesley. I don't wanna kick it, y'all messy. Coming up the best on the best me. Always at an allergy to bullshit. When I sneeze round y'all, don't bless me. Why do you gotta be all in your feelings? I come from the bottom, you far from the ceiling. I'm far from achieving the end of my vision, but I know the secret, I'll never reveal it. Oh no, yeah. And when I achieve it, just know that I'm flashing. Do not deserve while I work on progression. And in the famous, I'm living so restless. Yeah, you can never test me. Cash on the card, can't check me. I'm pop, y'all blue, that's Pepsi. Money don't solve all your problems, but I've never been depressed on the jet ski. So I'ma just skate for the commas, till I'm flooded with the ice like Gretzky.
Does Jerry not grow mustache stubble? Also wearing tidy off-whiteys.
One sin for pointing things out on the screen, and one sin for forgetting that he could have just shaved his mustache stubble and then gotten too lazy to do the beard stubble.
The show's hitting the sad sack Jerry punching bag hard in this opening, even insinuating he flosses while on the toilet. But in what world does someone with Jerry's personality traits even floss at all?
That happens in this world. You know, seeing as he's doing it right now. I mean, just because he's too lazy and depressed to do some of the other shit that he should be doing, doesn't mean he's automatically too lazy and depressed to do any of it.
Rick and Jerry episode!
Breaking the fourth wall to advertise your episode's shortcomings.
That's not a shortcoming, though. This episode is very strong, one of the better episodes in this season, in fact.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
Also, pointing things out on the screen.
Oversaturating the plumbus market.
Making unfunny jokes that nobody with any common sense is going to laugh at.
What did you think it was?
An execution.
Jeez, you really do need a win.
Is it really that far-fetched, though? The truth is the Rick we've been shown in this show is probably more likely to execute Jerry or manufacture a new one entirely, rather than waste his time trying to give him a win.
Not really. I mean, Rick is uncaring, but he's not a soulless murderer. There's no evidence whatsoever to suggest that he would prefer killing Jerry to helping him a little.
Resort's covered in an immortality field. You can't die here. That's the gimmick.
Both Rick and his buddy seem to be in pain when they're harpooned and glassed. Immortality should really not be so appealing when you can still feel the pain of death.
There are two options to cover this quote-unquote sin. First, they don't actually feel pain, and Rick and his friend were simply acting this preconceived reunion. Second, they do feel the pain, but you're just an idiot who thinks that would remove the appeal of immortality. Just because you can still feel the pain doesn't mean people wouldn't go there. That's just a really stupid assumption.
Rich a-holes are rich a-holes. They all pay top dollar to come here and enjoy a consequence-free vacation.
Stealing your idea from Westworld. The book, or the old movie, but not the new show, which came out later. So then we'd send that for stealing from this. This job's complicated.
Only when you're incapable of rational thought. Wait.
Mom, do you think I'm hot?
This entire B-plot is dangerously skippable, so I'll use it instead to untable my immortality field doctoral thesis. Next up is the fact that this isn't technically an immortality field. It's a resurrection and regeneration field. An immortality field would prevent death from occurring in the first place and allow you to survive your injuries regardless of severity, which would make this a f***ing horrorscape of a resort where you never die but have to continuously feel the pain of any injury or mishap that befalls you.
Everything wrong with Rick and Morty, ladies and gentlemen. The resort picked a name that prioritized catchiness over accuracy. Also, the B-plot in this episode may not be the absolute best in the show, but it's also most certainly not skippable at all, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Or could it be her massive stripper titties?
In my limited amount of research, I can confirm there is no specific shape or size of titty required to be a stripper.
Discount Jeremy probably has a boner right now. I have no hard proof, but Summer is an underage girl who's talking about titties, and based on his track record, I feel like this is a pretty fair assumption.
Between the first whirly and the third dirly, the ride dips just outside the immortality field.
Well, that's just terrible theme park design.
And also not unrealistic at all. I mean, people in real life die on roller coasters once in a blue moon, so they're clearly not perfect.
I don't want to judge an alien race by its appearance, but I do want to know more about the genetic quirks of this species. For example, why does this individual have nipples when the others do not? And why do they have one bubblegum stalk and yet our bigger friend here has two? And why are they bumpy when the smaller chaps are perfectly smooth? You can't give me another new alien race without the proper information to fill out my Rick and Morty decks.
So the episode made a mistake by not completely derailing the plot to explain the inconsequential genetic details of this fake alien race? Do you hear yourself when you talk? Actually, I already know the answer to that.
If she's this big and the machine's still running, how is she A, alive, and B, not immediately popping Morty like a tomato sauce balloon the second he tries to squeeze through there?
Because she's not big enough for either of those things to happen just yet? Next question.
There are some major issues between you and Beth that have been there since you guys met.
This is what apparently tips Jerry over the edge into patricide-in-law. This? An insightful statement that's likely based on truth as opposed to one of the many careless or hateful things that Rick has done? What's worse is that the show never has a problem making Rick out to be the asshole, so why not use this as an opportunity to show him really tormenting Jerry and Jerry finally breaking?
Because the show has shown us exactly that in the past, and this is simply the straw that broke the camel's back. It makes perfect sense, but I'm not surprised that you don't seem to understand this.
What else could reverse possibly mean?
In fairness to Beth, this is a terrible setting description. This setting should have clearly been called Inside Out, which still would be incorrect considering basically all that happens is the skin inverts but somehow leaves the eyes and mouth intact.
Right. And the sin is what exactly? That a product has a bad setting description? Have you ever owned a product? Like ever?
Also, how did the assassins know that this cart was the cart that Rick and Jerry were going to be on? And how could they guarantee that Rick and Jerry were going to be at the front of the line?
They didn't know Rick and Jerry would be in this cart. They sat in the back so that Rick and Jerry would be in front of them no matter what. As for them knowing that Rick and Jerry would be at the front of the line, they didn't. They would have simply waited until they got to the front.
Did Jerry just lift up the lap bar mid-ride? That should not be possible. I know this is an animated show, but I've had literal nightmares about this exact scenario, and I need to know that this should not be possible.
Admits that this is a cartoon, sins it anyway.
The assassin inexplicably waits until Rick and Jerry have almost re-entered the resurrection and restoration field. I don't even think they have a line of sight now.
Actually, they didn't have a good angle before, and now they do. The assassins waited until they had an angle, the exact opposite of what you just said. What's your IQ? Just curious.
Instead of activating a bomb, I just assumed this button was some sort of quick release mechanism for Rick's lab coat. And what's concerning about this is I didn't even question how ineffective and ridiculous that would be. My brain just said, yeah, that tracks. And I am not okay with how this show is reshaping my logic center.
Again, this is a cartoon, and it's therefore not supposed to make sense. Of course, you're the same group of people who struggle to comprehend kids' movies, so I'm not surprised you're sinning this. But it's still dumb, so...
Look, I've never managed a resort with a resurrection and restoration field, but if I did, I don't think I'd put the power source to said field where it was so open to being damaged. I mean, look at all this rock. Why not bury that shit way underground? Rick and Jerry survive this. And you might think that's silly, but the whole episode is about a place with a resurrection and restoration field. And when you're going to have your characters survive a direct collision with a mountain and a rocketing wheel of death, your supposed immortality field becomes about as important as the lowest button on a button-down shirt.
Cartoon. Not supposed to make sense. Turn your brain off and light a joint. The next two sins both contain fake-ass laughs, so 10 total sins here is appropriate.
I mean, balls. Hilarious. I get it, but he could just duck down in the pouch a bit, right?
Wait, where do you want him to go? He's a grown man in a tiny pouch. He doesn't exactly have a whole lot of room to get comfortable.
Also, the creature that evolved to carry its young within punching distance of its gonads would like a quick conversation with Darwin, please.
Everything wrong with the whirly-durly conspiracy, ladies and gentlemen. An animal evolved in a weird way. I mean, couldn't that sin be applied to literally every animal on the planet? The only reason you consider this weird is because none of the animals known to humanity have this, but it's certainly not impossible for some animal somewhere to have this, assuming there's life somewhere else in the universe, of course.
Kissing Rick's ass isn't gonna help keep him around, Mom, but it will help you lose everyone else.
Chapter 47 on my thesis, challenging the R&R Resort. A title that the owners really dropped the ball on by not using, now that I think about it, is wondering if laws regarding murder and assault don't apply here. I mean, you're still going through the mental and physical trauma of being attacked and assaulted, so are there just no repercussions because there's no lasting physical damage?
Yeah, that about sums it up. Like Rick said, this resort is for rich assholes. Simply asking a question does not denote a sin, my guy.
Like I lost Summer.
Hey, you haven't lost her yet.
No, I definitely did. She's gone.
There is not a chance Summer would have been able to sneak away.
Let me stop you right there. Cartoon, not logical. Turn your pathetically minuscule excuse for a brain off.
It's a synaptic dampener that blocks violent tendencies and controversial thought.
I want cookies and a 90-minute cut of Avatar.
This show cuts so deep. I f***ing love it. But unfortunately, I'm dangerously close to maxing out my sin removals for the season, so I'll just have to send the Cookie Monster shade instead.
Discount Jeremy sins something he likes cliche.
Wait, I know where she is!
Of course you do. How else would we wrap up 2 storylines in the next 5 minutes?
But why are you acting as if this is unrealistic? He knows where she is because he knows about her boy troubles. This is an example of Morty actually being kinda smart. Maybe you sinned it because you're jealous?
Ethan and Summer were supposed to go camping, and then he dumped Summer.
The next book in my R&R Field series will be dedicated to organized crime. Why isn't this resort being overrun with space mobsters and criminals that can either use it as a place to torture their enemies or as a hideout where they can't be hurt by the authorities? Using it as a theme park is wildly undervaluing its potential.
Dude, this line of logic is beyond idiotic. You're complaining about the park not being used by organized crime, but how could multiple organized crime groups operate on the same premises without destroying each other? In fact, how could one group operate here without going bankrupt? As Rick said, this place is high class. It ain't cheap. As for it being a sanctuary from the police, do you honestly not realize that the police could still arrest people in the resort even though they can't kill anyone? This whole sin is just riddled with very obvious flaws, and I'm giving it 10 sins for being this stupid.
About the rest of your days in denial of your vagina fantasies.
It was a one-time thought that everyone has!
I mean, other than the people that already have a vagina.
Yeah? I'm sorry, what's the sin here supposed to be?
Rick and Morty episode steals the best scene from Everything Everywhere All at Once and the dumbest scene from Doctor Strange 2 5 years before either of them came out. And don't act like that isn't possible in a show like this.
Everything wrong with Rick and Morty, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron is trying and failing to be funny. It's okay, buddy. Maybe someday you'll say something that people over the age of 5 will laugh at. Well, with the exception of stupid people, of course, because you have plenty of those in your fan base. But you get my point.
Oh, God. I feel like our souls were united and we're all one with eternity.
Still a better explanation than anything I've heard defending the ending of Interstellar.
Discount Jeremy is too stupid to understand the ending of Interstellar. By which I mean that he made a pop culture reference that wasn't a sin of the episode. Cliché.
And the final series of volumes will be spent positing that the R&R Resort should be swamped by the entire damn universe. This is a place where you not only can't be permanently killed, but it reverses the thing that killed you. So anyone with a spaceship and a terminal illness can come here, die, and be cured of anything that was killing them. This resort should be the seat of power for the entire damn multiverse.
Discount Jeremy continues to forget that money is a thing that exists. Also, we have no evidence to suggest that the resort would cure ailments such as disease or cancer or anything other than physical flesh wounds. It's entirely possible that it can't heal other things.
I know giant, inside-out, Kaigu versions of Summer and Beth are in this scene, but the real monster here is Morty, who uses his bare thumb to pat down this melted marshmallow. Directly touching the marshmallow is a surefire way to ruin any shot you have at not sticking directly to everything you come in contact with for the rest of the evening.
So the sin is that a stupid person did something stupid? Okay, dude, sure.
Show takes 21 minutes and 13 seconds to actually Rick and Morty.
Discount Jeremy takes over 8 minutes to finally stop being annoying.
What the hell, boy? You almost killed me! I'm not going out in a stew-making accident! Terry's gonna die saving the president, or Terry's never gonna die!
So you were just gonna trap us in that tank? That was your plan? Not was, motherfucker. Still is.
Kill him, Rick! I don't like this! This is scary!
Right, you asked for it. Did I ask for this?
All these rappers got excuses, making music, dropping dookie, that's a doozy. What is he doing? I don't understand you losers using me to get their views like Aubrey Harley. Never do shit, deuces, tiger, stop the lying. You've been dropping nothing but fire, bringing the violence, making my eyelids close like I just hired a stylist. I've been a riot, yo, shit tired. Shut up, you should be quiet. No one to cop your merch and buy it, so you mad cause no one likes it. Do this shit, yo, flow need diapers, goofy shit like Disney writers. Let's be honest, lyrics is dying, but we got some left that's writing. I'll revive it, then supply it. Kill this game like Michael Myers. Just found JC on and Compton. I've been rhyming like Muhammad Ali, knocking out the ops and feel like Rocky with Rihanna. That's why critics got me boxed in with these rappers, thinking I'm Hobson. Got them bopping, cold a body on this beat like it's Gaddafi. Now I'm flying with the pilot private out the Abu Dhabi.
I did it, Rick!
I heard you broke up with Brad. Who are you gonna date, now that you can date anyone?
Why is this an immediate question to ask someone that just broke up? I understand that they're keenly curious about body stuff, as evidenced in the following line.
Penis in the foreskin, kind of love.
So, yeah, go figure out what you enjoy, I guess. But can we just let people take a longer than 12-second break between the end of one relationship and questions about the next?
Yes, it's okay to be single, blah blah blah, but how'd you not understand?
That's the joke.
The show is making fun of the high school's popular clique here.
This highly questionable school art that is inspiring a love of microscopes, trophies, open flames, hookah, and magnetic floating chalices.
Discount Jeremy points things out on the screen, cliche.
In and out, 20 minutes adventure.
Title of my overambitious sex tape?
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy sexual joke that isn't funny, cliche.
Why is their skin flapping around as though wind is pushing it back from the ship's trajectory? I get that G-forces do crazy things to your face, but for this amount of gum flappage, surely they'd have to be taking some bizarre route out of here and not the straight line that we see in this shot.
This is an animated series. It's supposed to wildly exaggerate things, and the G-forces making their faces look like this is just one example of that principle.
I can't do this anymore!
Audio from the TVSins writer's room after sending Game of Thrones final season somehow makes it into the episode.
This was insane! That was pure luck! I was not in control of that situation at all!
Followed by Jeremy and Chris's reaction to the birth of CinemaSins also making its way into a Rick and Morty episode.
Okay, you did well the first time around, no need to ruin that on the second go. The next two sins are both just pointing things out on the screen.
These things are just doing what they do in the wild. They love swallowing stressed out creatures for 20 minutes and then puking them up.
I think cats feel this way about birds.
Skip.
Try swallowing the giant ball of snot that's dangling around in the back of your throat. It's disgusting.
Says the man who, for 90% of his day, has more bodily fluids on his face than Jabba the Hutt's gynecologist.
Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the episode, cliche.
Nice of you to let me off the hook. It's still unacceptable behavior, and I do regret it.
Rick is being extra nice because he's had all of his toxins removed, but that would seem to overlook that some of the most toxic people you will ever meet will carry themselves with a kind word and a smile.
Yeah, some of the most toxic people are like that, but notice how both you and I use the word some instead of the word all. Obviously, Rick is not one of those people, so this sin is completely pointless and a total waste of time.
I'm real proud to be your grandpa, Morty.
I guess this sin is on me for enjoying this wholesome moment, while also realizing that the toxic elements of Rick and Morty are ripped from their consciousness. Do I prefer this show? Am I a sap trained by television to feel better when everyone gets along like puppets?
That's a sin on you, not the show, buddy.
You were flapping your parasitic turd holster!
Not specifying what the turd holster is.
Skip.
Discovered the toxic equivalent of electricity, Morty.
I love the idea that there's a toxic version of electricity, even if it doesn't make any sense. I mean, would lightning just deliberately pick out the nicest people to strike? Would a power surge wait until you've nearly finished a big project to short out your computer and then do exactly the same thing to your brand new computer just to f with you?
Discount Jeremy sins something he likes, cliche. Also, that fake-ass laugh at the beginning of the sin. Also, why do you think that any of these questions count as sins? Remember, this is a cartoon. It's not supposed to make sense.
With the kids' clothing variety as your only clue, you'll never discover the mystery of the current weather pattern in the neighborhood.
Discount Jeremy has apparently never been to a public high school.
If we're we're all bored over here? Wouldn't the common denominator be you?
We learned that it's only the character traits the individual believes are toxic that have been removed, but I still struggle to believe that Morty doesn't think being a back-talking smartass to his teacher doesn't fall into the realm of toxicity.
Morty believes that his lack of self-confidence is toxic. This scene demonstrates that he can actually have some level of wit when he's not constantly putting himself down. Think of it this way, though. Morty hates the fact that he basically has no friends and nobody who likes him at school, and this kind of behavior directly contradicts that, which implies that he thinks it's a good thing.
I'll have a water.
But you already have wine, so wouldn't the drink order have already been taken? Or is that the previous table's wine?
The drink order was already taken. Morty is simply ordering water for his meal because his non-toxic self is an insufferable ass. Seeing as how you're an insufferable ass no matter what, I would have thought you'd understand this joke.
But why is there wine at the empty tables? What is this restaurant?
Maybe it hasn't been cleaned up from the previous guests? And regardless, who cares? This is a cartoon, dude.
Hey, Rick! Are you familiar with Benoit technology?
The assholes behind Rick and Morty continue to make me drop the ball when it comes to resisting the urge to fall into the annals of the internet just for the sake of making sure I understand the whole joke they're making.
Blah blah blah, Discount Jeremy has to bullshit his way through the episode because he can't come up with enough actual sins to fill a video, blah blah blah.
They're all the bad parts of us, which by the way includes our dishonesty.
But dishonesty can have positive uses though.
Yes, that's true, but the point is that they think their dishonesty is at least mostly toxic. Jesus, how does he not understand these very simple concepts?
Did I ask for this, huh? Did I? Assessing threat to groin.
Point uses a defensive groin laser if it only deploys after multiple hits to the vegetables have been received.
Because it prevents further hits? I mean, if you wanted to shoot people before they hit his groin, you're basically advocating for a weapon that would prevent you from ever getting laid. Rick's bitch would start touching him and then get sliced in half a second later.
Look, either this doorframe is made of cardboard or Rick's body is made of titanium. And yes, in this world, either could be true, but if I stopped sending stuff because it could be true, these Rick and Morty videos would be about 5 seconds long.
And much less boring, so I suggest you do that.
Carpet so weak it tears by hand, or hand so strong they tear carpet. Either way, it's a sin.
No, it's not, because Rick has already been shown sporting a ton of cybernetic enhancements, meaning he could absolutely do this.
Taping the horse head to the exterior of the frame rather than opening up the frame to subtly attach it to the photo directly.
Pointing things out on the screen.
Did the booger version of you mean when he said he was going to make the whole world toxic?
Oh, I'm sure he just left that as a clue so Rick would know where to find him once he figures out how to recombine them both into one being. Villains are super helpful like that.
Isn't that kind of the point? Rick and Morty makes fun of a ton of different things, so it wouldn't really be a reach to say that this was a joke about villains expositing their plans to the heroes.
This Moon Tower, Morty, is the perfect heightened metallic composition for the amplification of beaming of toxic energies.
Convenient tower fitting the exact requirements of the villain's plan is very convenient.
That's the joke.
Hey, did you ever want to hold a Terry fold?
Thinking that playing a whimsical song will make me hang around for the entirety of the Wait, what the hell is a terryfold? Why does it make me think of dinosaurs? Is this like a sexy dinosaurs song? How did dinosaurs have sex?
Discount Jeremy sends something he likes cliche.
This world so toxic. This world so toxic. I need more chronic. I need some more chronic. Sometimes I feel like crying.
How'd it go with the Mortytown Locos? They had a little accident. They won't be causing any trouble anymore. Those were bad Mortys. Very bad Mortys. Big Morty likes to contribute to keeping the peace in Mortytown. Think of him as a drug lord and us as cops on his payroll.
Morty.
Which Morty?
My partner. Morty, you're right. Mortytown is bad, but that doesn't mean that we have to be.
Hey, what's going on here, Morty? Which Morty? The cop, morons? Don't worry about Rick, Big Morty. He's new. He doesn't understand how it works. That's what you said about your last partner.
Morty, you ready for our adventure to the lost city of Atlantis?
Rick and Morty not being complete assholes to each other is a pretty clear indicator that we won't be going to Atlantis. And I get that's the point of the episode, but it doesn't make me any less upset that the episode does not contain an adventure to the lost city of Atlantis.
Admits that it's the point of the episode, still sins it. I mean, I would have understood the sin if the episode was shitty, but it's not, so...
Going from reality to reality, asking Ricks to contribute...
Charity canvassing. Canvassing?
Skip?
Pitching the policeman's ball to a black teenager here.
The smartest man in the universe being aware of the complex and difficult relationship racial and ethnic minorities have with the police, but choosing to use the topic as fodder for his jokes as opposed to actually doing something about it.
Yup, it's called a comedy, Discount Jeremy, and comedies are supposed to make jokes. Shockingly.
You don't have to be a dick. I think you know that's not true.
When Rick stop being polite and start getting real.
What the? Oh, shit.
The next 2 sins in a row are just Discount Jeremy pointing things out on the screen.
Citadel Morning News. News about the Citadel in the morning. Pretty self-explanatory.
When you over-explain things to the different versions of yourself as if you're the asshole. And before you say, what about the Mortys? You and I both know they'll never stop playing with their remote long enough to watch the news.
Sinning over-explaining? That's odd, coming from the guy who struggles to understand the simplest of concepts. I'm surprised you even understood the fact that this was meant as a joke.
The chemical that makes his brain secrete goes into every Simple Rick Simple Wafers wafer cookie.
Brain secretion wafer cookies are my least favorite secretion wafer cookies.
Okay. What was the sin here? He didn't say anything legitimately critical or funny, so I'm waiting for him to say something of value.
Come home to the impossible flavor of your own completion.
Tagline of my sex tape?
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy sex tape joke that isn't funny cliche.
Having an entire factory that only makes wafer cookies. Sure, a factory could put out just one product, but f***ing wafer cookies? How is there a big enough market for those?
Did you not watch the commercial? Oh, you're pretending it never happened so you can force a sin out of the episode.
K83, affectionately known as Cool Rick.
K83 doesn't pronounce his name Cool Rick.
Jesus Christ, cringe overload, abandon ship.
Time to abandon ship.
4 normal Mortys. Normal? Put it in your blog.
Shop owner Morty is suddenly clever enough to make this comeback when a moment ago he wasn't clever enough to give Training Day Rick and Morty any information about the robbery beyond saying they looked like Mortys.
Welcome to Morty's character. He can give snappy comebacks sometimes, but still doesn't have a whole lot of brains or common sense. What's the issue with that? It's a cartoon character, bud.
Morty Town Locos!
Making your gang name sound Hispanic by adding the word logos to it is like the social science equivalent of adding the word quantum to things to make them more science-y.
Right, and that's the point. Why are you sinning something that the episode agrees with?
How would you solve the Citadel's financial crisis?
For a show as consistently outside the box as this one, it's surprising they went with a boilerplate financial crisis as a problem facing the Citadel.
Why? This society is still recovering from the last time we had an episode here, so it actually makes sense that they would have a financial crisis.
We fact-check this, please?
Juggling would have been enough, but this one's for attempting to fact-check a juggling metaphor.
That's the joke.
Eat in our factories, where Ricks work for a fraction of their boss's salary, even though they're identical and have the same IQ.
If they all have the same IQ, then why aren't there robot servants doing all the work and thousands of Ricks just sitting around drinking margaritas?
Isn't that kind of the point? This is all supposed to be a metaphor for how the upper class controls the lower class. In this specific example, it's more absurd than ever because of the fact that the Ricks could just have robots doing these jobs for them. That's the entire point.
This screen in the back shows all the Ricks running for office and their percentage in the polls, which equals 100. But where's the Morty date and his percentage? Even if he has 0% at this point, he should still be on this screen since he was taking part in the debate. I believe the sin here is Rickscrimination.
So you get that this is because they're discriminating against Morty, but then you sin it anyway? What the hell?
You gonna lick my balls or what?
Shit, grandson, you keep me peeling squab squams and slipping nibs, I'll lick whatever ain't nailed down.
Well, there's just a lot of shit here I'm just gonna ignore for my own sanity and move straight to sinning Rick for lickscrimination against things that are nailed down.
Pointless throwaway sin to waste time is pointless and wastes time. The next 2 sins in a row are both just pointing things out on the screen.
Associating food with a hard Rick is not a health code violation in this scene.
Discount Jeremy makes a boner joke that isn't funny cliche.
Dance for 10, 2 for 25.
For a moment, I was worried about shaming autosexuality here, but the longer I spend with this scene, the more certain I become that this is something else entirely.
Okay. And the sin is... Oh, you can't come up with anything? Then why did you bring this up in the first place?
I want to be a regular kid. I want to go to school and throw balls around and masturbate.
Show wants me to believe those last two aren't one and the same.
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy sexual joke that isn't funny cliche.
We got your portal gun.
After he drops the shield, they make a little baby portal to give him the gun. So while he's distracted and the shield was still down, couldn't they have opened multiple portals in the flavor core and surrounded him?
Yes, but that would have run the risk of him killing his hostage. Discount Jeremy would be terrible at hostage negotiations.
Portal to the Blender dimension?
The one-line pitch responsible for Event Horizon.
Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
You have to give up something really important. For me, that's my panini maker. I wish for 1,000,000 sandwiches. And yes, I see the irony.
Not requesting these sandwiches at a specific interval so they don't arrive all at once and spoil.
Stupid, pointless sin is stupid and pointless.
I wish anything about this life would change.
The show does the wildest, most nonsensical bullshit and somehow swings it back around to make you feel something cliche.
Nope, not a cliche.
Now is the time for action.
Sure, launching the bodies out into space gives us an idea of the devastation evil Morty can inflict, but it makes little sense in terms of disposal, especially when you've already shown us the giant garbage portal that seems much more suited to the job.
Admits that it's for the audience, sins it anyway.
Still not curious about what might have happened at that crazy Citadel place?
Not at all, Morty. That place will never have any bearing over our lives ever again.
Writers let the audience know that nothing in this show is sacred, and they'll do whatever they please whenever they want, and that includes bringing the Citadel back probably somewhere around the 500th season.
Yup, because let's admit it, this show is amazing and we'd let it murder us if it asked.
Is that enough off the top?
Don't know. Is it?
Yes,
I
goddamn,
think
yes.
it's great. Good. This seems like a good time for a drink and a cold, calculated speech with sinister overtones. A speech about politics, about order, brotherhood, power. But speeches are for campaigning. Now is the time for action.
I'm not an unreasonable man, Beth Smith. I know children are everything to a mammal. I will spare one of their lives. You simply have to choose.
Summer! Summer.
You're not gonna believe this. I went to Phoebe instead of Titan. It's like, hello, Saturn. After 10 moons, time to stop naming and start numbering, you know?
Rick and Morty run away from the Edward without scissor hands towards the stairs, but then somehow wind up on these set of stairs instead of the ones on the original trajectory. This could be possible, of course, but the show doesn't animate them jumping or rocketing over there, which would have been a lot of fun to see.
So you're sinning an animated show that already isn't supposed to be logical for doing something illogical in a setting that is literally designed to be even less logical than normal? What the f***?
Also, is this alien planet just randomly heard of MC Escher, or do they just have their own MC Escher? I'm going to need to walk up a few more impossible staircases to figure this one out.
Simply asking these questions does not necessitate a sin. You haven't pointed out anything wrong with this episode yet. You've just asked some questions that aren't important to the story.
Well, that's what you get for building your Escher Palace over a space vortex.
Pointless throwaway sin is pointless.
Morty, let's watch some interdimensional cable. Remember how we used to do that?
I do. And if you want to remember, I will show you these two examples of videos you could watch that do not benefit me in any way. I'm just looking out for you.
Yeah, they don't benefit us either, so the fact that you're bringing them up here is really cringy and stupid.
I can't go on. I can't go on like this with the truth tortoise in my head.
I was just thinking this the last time I let a tortoise on my head. Wait.
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy poop joke that isn't funny cliche.
This, Morty, is my archive of all the experiences you've begged me to remove from your life, lest you go insane. I call them Morty's Mind Blowers.
Seems like an impressive amount when you see them all, but how many of them are just simply about Morty forgetting the Mind Blowers room exists? Because Rick would have to erase that memory every time as well, right?
Yes. And what's this in here? How did the episode make a mistake? Oh, it didn't? You're just making an observation that's neither good nor bad and counting it as a sin in order to pad the sin count? Cool.
Also, Morty's memory manipulation would be more accurate, but Rick is taking the marketing approach here to keep this intriguing.
So you admit that it's a marketing thing, but still sinned it? Who do you think you are, Ben Shapiro getting offended by female M&Ms?
These corporations seeking to re-enshrine in the left-wing mind that they are their allies, they just do stupid woke virtue signaling for no apparent reason. And it is high-level trolling. It is them doing something and then proclaiming that they are virtuous, and then when you point out that what they're doing is stupid, they're like, why are you even noticing we're doing it in the first place?
This labeling system that appears to depend on the stickiness of the tape. Certainly Rick has the ability to do better than this. Okay, so Rick doesn't give a shit, but why then label it all?
So he knows which ones are which in order to show them to Morty? You're misunderstanding Rick's character again. He does care about these things. He simply wants to hide that by doing a half-assed job.
Ever never seen signs of a regular dude, as you describe him, hanging out up there.
But Rick does have the technology to take the memory from Morty at this point, so why not look in at Morty's memory and see what he did to confirm the person on the moon, or tease Morty endlessly for the rest of his life?
Because that would take extra work and effort over a subject that Rick doesn't think holds any weight whatsoever. This scene right here demonstrates how Rick trusts his own experience with the moon more than Morty's baseless claim.
Putting brown gravy on mashed potatoes, or really just putting brown gravy on anything.
Pointing things out on the screen.
Morty's at least 11 or 12, right? Why are they still learning simple math like 18 plus 10 at his age?
That's the joke.
Morty took a picture in printable clarity at night? Wait, Morty printed pictures for proof? This is insane. Who prints pictures?
People who want proof? I mean, you literally mentioned the word proof a second ago and then asked a question whose answer you just said. That's embarrassing, dude.
Oh my god, what have I done?
How did this memory not convince Morty that he'd actually seen a man on the moon? His memory is clear at the beginning, and this is obviously a man and not a smudge. Also, this is the same flag on the moon as in the yard. There is no other conclusion to draw from this memory except Morty was correct about the man on the moon.
Remember at the funeral when one of the mourners said that he looked like a smudge on a lens, and then Morty checked this telescope lens and found the smudge? Yeah, you're lying to your audience yet again.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
Don't all have titles, though. It's not a Simpsons Halloween special. More like a clip show made of clips you never saw.
These aren't clips that Morty never saw. These are clips that Morty can't remember, but he definitely saw them at some point or they wouldn't exist.
Ignoring the fact that Rick was addressing the audience there.
Collector comes to peek into their habitat and spots Rick disassembling a television. Wouldn't this be somewhat alarming? Why would the collector allow the specimens to take apart their environment?
He's observing them and their behavior. When he sees Rick taking apart the TV, he just chalks it up as Rick's species being handy. He has no idea that Rick is going to use it to escape because he doesn't know just how intelligent Rick is.
Oh, the schematics specify a second, smaller pilot. I mean, they really specify smaller. They have to be exactly 5'3".
But why? Morty normally just sits in normal-sized seats. What would his height have to do with anything in regards to the schematics? And Rick's making it pretty obvious these idiots are being set up to be stuck in an alien human zoo.
What? No, he's not. How the hell would they guess that just from the schematics? And for anyone who's going to defend that sin on the grounds of it being a joke, then this sin is for it not being funny.
This very confusing piece of paper that came from an alien but is written in English. Now, maybe the paper is designed to translate to be legible to whoever reads it, but then why wouldn't it be written properly with the name capitalized and a period after warrior?
It's a cartoon, dude. Chill.
Having 2 glasses of whatever this is.
Skip.
I'm gonna go take a quick
So Rick goes to the bathroom and walks away down the hallway. I thought that was odd because I assumed the bathroom doors were here. Then the shot cuts to Floop, and over his shoulder the sign says the bathrooms are the opposite direction from where Rick went. However, on the wide shot, the arrow is pointed in the other direction, and we're left with nothing but assumptions about where Rick actually went to take a shit. And honestly, this is probably the most haunting part of the episode.
This is all actually a good observation. Well done, TVSins. If you had more sins like this, your videos might actually be decent.
Alright, so you want to do this here or outside?
I'm not privy to all the Don Cuco establishment rules, but I'm going to go out on a limb and assume they don't approve of alien murder in their restaurant during normal operation hours.
Pointless throwaway sin is pointless.
Simply have to choose.
Summer! Summer.
Okay, go with me here. Sure. Beth had that answer at the ready far too quickly. But really, the blame is on this alien for not creating a soundproof torture bubble.
Jesus Christ, unfunny joke is unfunny.
Rick opens the door panel by hitting it with his fist, but doesn't he know that shooting door panels is the official way to make sci-fi doors open?
So you're sinning this episode for not being the same as other sci-fi franchises? What? Wouldn't you have sinned it if it had done that?
For the fun of the show, these two have just wiped almost all of their memories. But all indication is that the Mind Wiper would only wipe one specific memory and not an identity.
But that's only true when Rick controlled how much got removed. In this scene, the device wasn't being controlled, or in other words, limited, by the user, so it removed everything. The next 4 sins in a row are all just pointing things out on the screen.
You guys doing Morty's mind blowers?
Asks the ice pop eating sister, who conveniently wanders into the garage and enters the bunker only seconds before her family ends the episode with a bang, which is almost as convenient as Summer also wearing a key necklace needed to access the panel that will save Rick and Morty.
Discount Jeremy is forgetting that this is a cartoon yet again. Who cares that it's convenient? It's not supposed to be a super serious and realistic drama, my guy.
There is no way she consumed each of the steps on that card that quickly, and you should never do step number 1 without reading all the remaining steps to ensure there's no f***ery regarding step number 1 in the following steps, especially when step 1 requires you to shoot people.
And you honestly think that Summer gives that much of a shit? Really? Someone hasn't been paying attention.
No wonder you're constantly fighting with each other and behind schedule.
That's a funny way of saying I should have just kept your memories wiped because you're both assholes.
Okay. And the sin is what exactly? That the characters in the show are staying in character? How the hell is that a mistake?
What are you doing, step bro?
I am Little Tom. I am Tiny Beth.
Oh, come on!
Come with me to my magic world. This is my secret Fruity Land, where I have no rules. I am excited. I am jealous of Tommy's friends and his Nintendo, and his dad likes him.
I take it Tommy wasn't class playwright?
Stop true crime bragging.
Comment section of my favorite murder episode somehow makes its way into the show.
Unfunny joke somehow makes its way into this video.
Is it my best work? I don't know. Does it deserve to be shit on creatively?
Instead of acknowledging how childhood memories can be inaccurate, Rick gets all defensive as if Beth just dropped an Everything Wrong with Fruity Land video.
I like how he uses this sin as a means of deflecting criticism of his channel. He slyly slipped in a claim that people who rebuttal their videos are just defensive. The reality is that we're not defending the shows and or movies, we're simply pointing out your stupidity and mistakes. If you don't get the difference, that's on you.
Or collapse the quantum tesseract.
Adding the word quantum to... No, wait. Adding the word tesseract to... No, that's not it either. Okay, got it. Combining two sciencey words and adding a random verb to create a phrase that sounds like Rick did something impressive. Cliche.
Also, that's not a cliche.
Drawing a portal on a mobile door.
Pointing things out on the screen.
Based on the trees alone, it's pretty obvious that Rick ripped off Dr. Seuss. And no one gets away with that without a sin in.
Discount Jeremy makes a Dr. Seuss reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
God, you're right. I'm a terrible dad.
The terrible dad then goes on to throw himself from the cliff that won't kill him rather than pushing his unsuspecting daughter to her non-death. And that would have really sealed the terrible dad title into place for eternity.
What the f*** was this sin? Okay, there might be somebody who wants to claim that it was just a joke, so before I explain the content of the sin away, this sin could also just be for the joke not being funny. Anyway, Rick's goal here was to prove that Fruity Land is safe. Throwing himself over the edge proves that just the same as throwing Beth over would have. You're complaining about something that doesn't matter in the slightest. It's completely arbitrary.
Dad makes a toilet look like R2-D2 and it breaks the front page of Reddit.
Insinuating that Rick gives a Star Wars-sized shit about the front page of Reddit.
Pointing things out on the screen.
Oh, seriously? This hurts really bad!
In that case, you'd think he wouldn't wait until being taken to the nest to take out his gun and shoot the threat.
Rick was being jerked around, please nobody make an immature joke in the comments, by the pterodactyl thingy. Therefore, it would have been extremely difficult for him to draw his gun before being dropped in the nest.
No people saw these two people floating in people-sized bubbles and stopped to take a picture and or follow for the views of the people they would surely garner on social media.
Discount Jeremy forgets that he's watching a cartoon. The next two sins in a row are both completely pointless throwaway sins that I guess were meant to be jokes, but certainly weren't funny, so...
What's a smoothie?
First off, no one said yes. And second, anyone that does want a smoothie would also like you to put a little more effort into the recipe, and not just put every piece of rinded fruit you have into a blender.
Are you ignoring Jerry's character just so you can force a sin out of the episode? Yes. Yes, you are. Also, at the beginning of the sin, he mentioned how nobody said yes to the smoothie, but in the previous sin, he said that Jerry wouldn't need a reason to show off his powers at all. He would just do it to impress his kids. So, which is it? Does he not need a reason, or does he need Morty and Summer to say they want a smoothie? Stop contradicting yourself, my guy.
Also, Summer and Morty both just stand there and watch Jerry not putting the top back on the blender without screaming, running, or voicing disapproval in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, they just watch their normal-ass father use magical powers to put the fruit in the blender. They're not exactly focused on the smoothie-making process.
I'm sure you noticed what she has 3 of, but guess what she has 2 of?
Is a thing that Jerry just said to his children.
And is also a thing that you felt the need to point out to us, thereby wasting even more of our time. I mean, I have eyes and ears, so you didn't need to tell me that, but I guess it makes sense considering the average IQ of a TVSins subscriber.
Are you saying Tommy survived here by having sex with fruity creatures, creating fruity human hybrid offspring, and then consuming their proteins, sustaining himself with an endless cycle of cannibalistic incest?
Writers suddenly realized their story's a hair too long and complicated for the show's 20-something minute runtime, so they ham-fist the episode with a bunch of quick-witted exposition wrapped in a plot reveal so disgusting we feel the need to go wash our hands during the commercial break.
That's the joke.
Do you understand how serious Crutabulon soul bonding is?
Nope. And considering it doesn't come up for the remainder of the episode, it's probably not that big of a deal at all.
Doesn't come up for the remainder of the episode? So the entire scene where she chases them into the cave and tries to murder them never happened?
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
She's got a hot bod like Chitara in Thundercats.
If the Thundercats exist in this cartoon universe, would they be considered cartoons? Or by the standards of their reality, would they be considered live action? And if a cartoon universe has its own version of cartoons, wouldn't those cartoons have to be one-dimensional? And what would that even look like? These are the kind of answers I watch Rick and Morty for, and
I always find the theater is the best way to clarify things.
somewhere in time, there's a 5th grade version of me watching a performance of The Crucible that would very much disagree.
And somewhere else in time is a version of you that's actually capable of understanding literally anything. But here we are.
I am hungry, and all I could do to pass the time is hump.
My dog's inner monologue somehow makes its way into the episode.
Leave him alone!
Gather round, gang! Dinner time!
Moments after Tommy has applied his seed, this animal births a new Froopy character, and unfortunately the rules of this episode place this sin in the category of meals being prepared too quickly to have been made in accordance with proper food safety measures.
Are there actually people out there in the real world who find this shit funny? I'd love to study their brains and find out what went wrong.
Alright, that's it. I'm out of here.
No one untied Rick's hands. He just slipped out of them to escape, so why not do this before watching the theatric retelling of Tommy's cringeworthy survival plan?
Because he wanted to know? Remember, Rick is a scientist, meaning that he constantly seeks answers to things he didn't previously understand.
Tommy's still in there rapping Muppets and eating babies.
Is a thing that Beth said in this episode.
I still have eyes and ears, bro.
Look at some of the shit you were asking me to make you as a kid. Ray guns?
Do they shoot rays, or are they named Ray?
Skip?
Has it occurred to you that I asked you to make those things because I wanted you to spend time with me?
Has it occurred to you that your request for these items resulted in a father that actually made them, thereby encouraging your behavior?
Are you blaming a child for her father's shitty parenting? That's actually not surprising when you think about TVSins and CinemaSins track records.
And that's why one pussy plus two pussies makes a bunch of pussies.
A bunch? At most, this is a clouder, and you know it.
Stop talking. Be quiet.
Look, I'm not an evil person. I'm just not very imaginative.
But doesn't it take imagination to create the lie that your children were responsible for the breakup? I know Jerry makes no sense, but the writing of Jerry not making sense should make sense.
And your evidence for that claim? Look, I get that this was meant as a joke, but it wasn't funny like most of his jokes, so I can't just let it slide.
Wouldn't dare play the music in the background of this touching father-daughter working moment, mostly because it's a song about taking a shit, and the show is trying to make us think it's a metaphor for fatherhood.
It's called a joke, bud. You should take a page from Rick and Morty.
Do they have this t-shirt just laying around, or did they spend time making this? Because it's not easy writing on t-shirts. It takes a lot of time to get the lettering right.
Cartoon. Not supposed to make sense.
None of the Variks chose this moment of distraction to attack the warrior woman who slaughtered their kin yesterday.
As you can clearly see in this frame, they're terrified of her, so it kind of makes sense that they're cowering here.
By the way, that wasn't time travel. There were just a couple pizzas on the counter. I grabbed them.
Rick has to break the fourth wall to explain something so the internet doesn't explode with fan theories about what the insipid detail of Rick not waiting for pizza means in regard to what is and isn't possible.
Discount Jeremy points things out on the screen, cliche.
You can go ahead and keep that answering machine. Nobody really uses those anymore except for exposition on TV shows anyways.
Show cleverly writes its way out of an antiquated joke by expositing its own exposition. But still, exposition.
Discount Jeremy has a boner for sinning exposition. Also, he mentioned that it was clever, so Discount Jeremy sins something he likes, cliche.
I'm a southern born and bred. I got sweet home Alabama buzzing all around in my head. I'm right at home in Georgia.
Jesus, he's not a fucking god.
You don't know what I am. You don't know what I can do. It's cool, Rick. I'm Doctor Who in this motherfucker. I could be a clone. I could be a hologram. We could be clones controlled by robots controlled with special headsets that the real Rick and Morty are wearing while they're fucking your mother.
I'm going to kill you.
Come to 312 Olive Street.
Is that her address?
You don't know because you're a bad son.
I could tell they switching when I read the signs. Ain't too many left in my circle, I had to redesign. I got comfortable with disappointment, so I'll be just fine. Rather be alone, I've been valuing my peace of mind. Keep it funky, we don't need the vibe. If you hit my line and I don't answer, don't you be surprised. You ain't on my wave, hope that you can read between the lines. I don't think we need no ties. I don't rather not associate with suckers. We don't need no ties. Sick of niggas acting like they motherfucking sneakers size. You ain't real, I knew
This OSHA violation of an elevator that starts moving before the doors close.
This entertainment violation of pointing things out on the screen when we can see it with our own eyes.
Also, discount Daniel Day-Lewis.
Also, discount Jeremy Scott.
They can teleport. Why did we take
I just work here, Steve. Same as you.
Look, sometimes the characters in Rick and Morty practically write these videos for me, which actually makes my job harder because I have to get extra nitpicky to justify my existence. Like pointing out that this mail slot was not in the establishing shot of the house that we saw just a few seconds ago. And nobody likes it when I have to do that.
What are you talking about? People love it when you point out actual continuity errors, like this one, rather than just rattling off a bunch of unfunny jokes and overly serious questions. I mean, continuity errors were how this channel got started in the first place, but now you're saying people don't like that much better form of content? I want to give a sin here for this bullshit, but I also want to remove one for the error he pointed out, so I'm going to call it even and not add or subtract.
Rick, do you need a drink in here?
Yes.
Not to disregard the obvious alcoholism on display here, but the martini glass is the most spillable adult beverage container ever conceived. And there's been no attempt at displaying any sort of technology that would allow Rick to fall vertically through a portal without spilling his drink.
Apparently, when the TVSins writers wrote this sin, they didn't actually bother to look at the martini glass. We see Rick covers it with his hand as he falls through the portal. Keep up.
Some kind of alien Googa has infested the Kennedy sex tunnels.
The president concludes that it must be alien Googa without testing for chlamydia first.
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy STD joke that isn't funny cliche.
You're not gonna have fun if you analyze everything.
Morty underestimates how much I enjoy my job.
See, you enjoy your job, and the fanboys who either are incapable of thinking for themselves or simply don't want to think for themselves also enjoy it. But those of us who actually do use our brains find your newer Sins content extremely boring and dumb. Go back to catching continuity errors and making funny jokes.
What doesn't look bad through an illegal spy satellite?
And ice cream.
And yes, you save the world now and then. And America returns that favor by not holding the two of you accountable to its laws.
Any of them? Any of the laws? Okay, I can see why turning a blind eye to some laws would be necessary when dealing with giant heads that kidnap the planet and other assorted nuisances, but all laws? You're telling me they could go to Arizona, purchase a donkey, and let it sleep in a bathtub with no consequences?
Okay, it seems as if the entire purpose of that sin was to make a stupid joke about Arizona, but regardless, the president would most likely punish, or at least try to punish, Rick and Morty if they did something really bad, like become serial killers or some shit. The government is simply allowing them to get away with certain things based on whether or not they are still a convenient asset for the government, which is a pretty funny piece of commentary by the showrunners.
Just promise if the results are too strong, you'll use protection.
By results, you mean Summer's choice, right? Right?
Yeah, I mean, the show never says that it didn't mean that, so why are you sinning it? You're just making an assumption.
How do you like that, Morty?
The absence of torches here makes me question why this scene does not contain a Rick and Morty getting blown up by a fucking creeper that apparated out of nowhere, causing them to lose over 1,000 levels of XP farming and that damn netherite sword that they were saving for just the right occasion. Followed, of course, by having to work their way back from who the knows where to assess the damage and pray to the Ender Dragon that their carefully plotted cave system has not been flooded or filled with lava. Or, you know, something less specific.
Also, why the hell does the lack of torches make you think all of that boring, cringeworthy bullshit? What do torches have to do with any of that?
South Park did it 4 years ago, Morty.
They're fast.
Or we're slow.
Me, every time I carefully craft my own version of a meme that...
Skip?
Also, South Park did that episode about the Simpsons already doing all the things and how it doesn't matter. So I don't really have an excuse for not making the meme, and the writers don't have an excuse for not giving us a Minecraft episode.
Except you would have sinned it if they had done it, so there's no reason to sin them for not doing it. And yeah, I'm sure that's the point of the channel or whatever lame excuse the fanboys want to throw down, but it's not funny, informative, or entertaining.
The only way using this portal makes sense is if it's a quicker option than the president just flying there. This means the portal would have to already be there, or at least be closer than the president is. But why? Why would it be stationed in Brazil? Do they have one of these things in every country? Aren't they super expensive? And why am I surprised that the government has the ability to waste my money?
Funny how you somewhat understand that this joke is about government waste and excess, and yet you're still sinning it. Also, simply asking these questions does not automatically mean they're sins. There are answers that could potentially be true to each question. For example, maybe the president had the portal built at a base in Brazil because of the discovery of the new species, or because the Amazon rainforest is literally one of the most likely places on this planet for new species to be discovered in general.
I made Sanchezium up, dumbasses. Don't believe everything you read on Wikipedia.
Well, excuse me while I go and review several hundred of our videos for... reasons.
Oh, honey, if you use Wikipedia for your videos, they would actually be more accurate than they currently are. Wikipedia isn't half bad compared to TVSins.
I don't doubt a bar like this exists somewhere in the multiverse, but wouldn't it make more sense for the footwear on the Torcosaurus sex to go all the way up to the heel, inverted secondary knee? Whatever it is, this current setup does not look torqueable.
And your evidence for that claim? Seriously, he just said all of that without actually providing a reason because he's relying on his audience not actually questioning him. TVSins really is just like a religion. And if your argument is that he said this for the sake of a joke, how the hell is this a joke? Where's the setup and where's the punchline? Do you find people saying sentences funny?
What does this mean? This means nothing.
Just pull forward and park.
That fake-ass laugh.
Israel and Palestine have announced a permanent ceasefire.
What? They signed something called the Pretty Obvious If You Think About It Accord.
Rick proving he could do more to help mankind in an afternoon than anyone else could do in 10 lifetimes, but he'd rather dick around in his garage. Cliche.
I'm convinced at this point that Discount Jeremy and Original Jeremy are both actively trying to get the definition of the word cliche changed, because this is not what it means.
An anonymous American diplomat took them to a Star Wars cantina where they smoked perspective-enhancing alien pheromones through a laser hookah.
I see no laser. I demand a laser hookah.
This is obviously the hookah. Now, the fact that he said it was a laser hookah indicates that there is a laser involved. We just might not be able to see it.
Approval rating just hit 100%.
It is literally, not figuratively, literally impossible for a president to get 100% approval rating.
That's the joke.
It's knocking out a deterrent. Everyone wants to be knocked out. Nobody wants to be dead.
Zack Snyder explaining why his version of Batman kills bad guys instead of subduing them somehow makes its way into the episode.
Discount Jeremy making a dumb pop culture reference somehow makes its way into the video.
Doctor Who in this motherfucker.
Proclamations of being the Doctor do not make you
skip.
I'd love to understand how I can help you.
I can't be in charge of that, Jerry. My mind, my ideas are all part of the variable. The only constant is you.
This plan only works if Beth is correct in thinking that there's some ineffable quality inside all of us that no clone, no matter how perfect, could ever fully replicate. And while you all sit there insisting you would definitely know the difference if your loved ones were replaced with clones, I'll be chatting to the AI that built the simulation we live in.
You're correct that there's no way to know any of this for sure. But the show is simply stating that this is Beth's character and the way she thinks. I don't know why you're sinning a character for being a character.
Just thought, it, lips don't sweat.
Lips may not sweat, but the face around those lips does sweat. A fact that turned out to be a deal breaker for my freshman year.
Someone sounds a little salty.
Episode makes a weird metaphor about destroying conspiracies surrounding the Apollo moon landing, the Kennedy assassination, and 9/11. At least, I hope that's what they were going for.
So you're sinning something that you hope was the goal of the show? What the hell? If you want it to be the case, how is it a mistake?
We're hiding from you so you don't kill her. If she's a clone, in a place I picked that you will never find.
I think Morty is vastly underestimating Rick's ability to track. I'm sure he has ways of scanning for Morty's DNA or an army of drones that scout the entire planet in minutes. Or maybe he could just track the fucking cell phone that Morty's decided to keep.
That is literally the point, my guy. Thank you for explaining what the show is conveying to us. Morty, as a character, can have a very bad lack of common sense sometimes, which is what allows Rick to find them. That's not a sin. It's a character.
You're a terrorist. You're an enemy of the state, and you kicked me in the balls 10 minutes ago.
Oh, and all those Secret Service people he killed earlier, but no need to bring that up, I suppose.
Yeah, this is America, dude. We care more about our balls than our fellow humans. Get with the program.
Invisitroopers, stand down.
Why are Invisitroopers with knives preferable to Invisitroopers with lasers?
Because the president has already tried shooting Rick with both regular guns and laser cannons, and neither worked. In other words, he's switching tactics to account for what has already failed.
Hope I could be of service if you ever find the planet to be in danger. Friends?
Sounds good to me.
The president thinks he's making a deal with a Rick from another universe, but what makes him think that fly fishing Rick would be any better than regular Rick? He could be just as murdery and insubordinate, but with the added annoyance of being one of those people with a passion for something.
Right, but this scene shows how badly the president needs Rick in order to fight back against threats that are too powerful for the government and military. Rick is sort of like the much better Avengers. The United States would be fucked without him.
Hopefully you didn't just fuck around and waste your life. Ooh-wee.
Making us think Mr. Poopy Butthole is going to be a fun callback, then tricking us into reflecting on all our poor life decisions.
Poor life decisions? Like the one where you decided to just point things out on the screen? Yeah. Ugh.
But first, let me take a selfie.
Emotional damage.